My name is Catherine. I am 66 years old. I thought love would last forever. For most of my life, I believed in fairy tales, perhaps because I grew up reading them, perhaps because I wanted them to be true. But life has a way of testing faith, and mine was tested more than once. I married young, at 22, to a man named Robert. He was tall, charming, and endlessly ambitious. Together we built a life, 2 children, a house in the suburbs, vacations to places we thought were exotic, like Florida and Mexico. For a while, it really did feel like love would last forever. But after 38 years, the marriage ended. Not in a dramatic way. There was no betrayal, no screaming fights. Just silence. 2 people who had grown into strangers sharing the same space. When the divorce papers were signed, I felt like my life had ended. 60 years old, with wrinkles on my face and pain in my knees, I thought romance was something I had lost forever. I told myself, Catherine, you've had your chance. The best years are gone. But fate is stubborn. It was a spring morning when I met Henry. My daughter insisted I join a local seniors book club. I didn't want to. I hated the thought of sitting in a circle, pretending to care about books I hadn't read. But she begged, and so I went. Henry was there, sitting in a chair too small for his broad shoulders. He had a kind face, silver hair, and the sort of laugh that made people look up. He caught me staring once, and instead of looking away, he winked. My cheeks flushed like I was 16 again. Over the weeks, we talked. He had lost his wife 5 years earlier. Cancer, he said softly, and his eyes clouded with memories. He loved gardening, jazz music, and cooking. I hadn't been cooked for in decades, but when he invited me over for dinner, I said yes. That night, he made roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans. Simple food, yet the taste was extraordinary. Perhaps it was the company, perhaps the way he poured wine into my glass and asked questions about my childhood, my dreams, my regrets. I laughed more than I had in years. One evening turned into many. We walked through parks, holding hands like teenagers. We went to small concerts and whispered like children in church. He taught me how to grow roses, and I taught him how to dance in the kitchen. I remember one night in particular. It was late summer, the air warm and heavy with the scent of blooming flowers. He took me to a small lakeside cafe. A jazz band was playing, and fairy lights sparkled above us. When the music slowed, Henry stood, offered me his hand, and asked, "May I have this dance?" I laughed. "Henry, I haven't danced in years. My knees." "Then we'll dance slowly," he said. And so we did. His arms around me, my cheek against his chest, the world disappeared. I felt like a young girl again, full of hope, full of joy. For the first time in decades, I wasn't thinking about the years behind me or the years I might not have. I was simply alive, in that moment, in his arms. That night, I realized something I wish I had known earlier in life. The best time you ever have isn't always in your youth. Sometimes it comes later, when you least expect it, when you've already given up on miracles. Henry and I spent 6 beautiful years together. We traveled, not far, just little weekend trips. We laughed, argued about silly things like which way the toilet paper should hang, and comforted each other during storms both inside and out. We were 2 souls who had found each other at the perfect time, not too early, not too late. But life, as always, reminds you of its limits. Henry grew ill. His heart, the very thing that had given me so much joy, grew weak. I became his caretaker, the way he had once cared for his wife. People told me it must be painful, watching someone you love fade. And it was. But it was also the most meaningful time of my life. I read to him when he couldn't read himself. I played jazz records when he was too tired to go out. I cooked his favorite meals, even when he could barely eat them. And one night, when his breathing was shallow, he whispered to me, "Catherine, you gave me the best years I ever had." I held his hand until the very end. Now, as I sit here at 66, I often look back and wonder, what was the best time I ever had? Was it when I was young and carefree? Was it when my children were born? Was it the trips, the laughter, the moments of achievement. No, the best time I ever had was not youth, not perfection, not even longevity. The best time I ever had was love, late, fragile, fleeting, but real. It was holding Henry's hand under fairy lights. It was laughing at midnight over burnt toast. It was dancing slowly, knees aching but heart full. I tell my story because too many people believe, as I once did, that love and joy belong only to the young. That once the wrinkles arrive, the story ends. But it doesn't. Sometimes, the best chapter of your life comes at the end, written in ink you thought had long dried. Henry taught me that, and though he is gone, he left me with the gift of knowing that love is timeless, ageless, and stronger than loss. So, the best time I ever had was not a single day or a single event. It was a season of my life, a miracle I never expected, and a love that still warms me even now. And if you ask me, at 66, if I would choose to live through the heartbreak, the loss, the inevitable pain, just to experience those 6 years with Henry, I would say yes. 1,000 times yes. Because the best time I ever had wasn't about forever, it was about the moments that made life worth living. And I had them, beautifully, completely, and truly.